Getting ready to go on your big trip, huh? Yes, sir. Cannot wait. Packing up your things and riding into the sunset. Yeah, sure, I guess. It'd be good to do some traveling. Hitting the bricks. Yep. On the road again. Okay. It's the journey, not the destination that matters. That's enough. Bugging out. Taking off. Pulling up stakes. You, my friend, you're taking that midnight train to Georgia. Ramble on. Take me home. Country roads. To that place I belong. Rocky Mountains. Mountain Mama. Take me home. Country road. Good times. Yeah. So, what that means is that I'll be a little late recording the weekly recap. What? Well, that's irresponsible. Well, hold on. I want to use my thoughts about the trip for the weekly recap, but I get home too late, so it's going to have to be recorded a day later. Well. So it begins. Okay. The beginning of what? The end. The beginning of the end. You are abandoning your standards. I am not. Yeah, well, pretty soon you'll be doing this video in your robe and your sandals or slippers, unwashed, without a job, watching reality TV during the day. You don't think maybe you're being a little melodramatic here? Really? Have you showered today? Well, hey, it was a late night. I mean, I didn't get home until, I don't even know what time I didn't get home till last night, and it's been a busy day today so far. Yeah, I can already see it now. You, 40 pounds heavier, wearing oversized sweatshirts, driving to Circle K at 1 a.m. to satiate your craving for Funyuns. Ooh. You're disgusting. So sad. Well, have a great trip. Your life of junk food excess and professional mediocrity will be waiting for you upon your return. Okay, well, I see where this is going. I'm leaving now. Yep. Should fit like a glove pretty soon. Welcome back to the weekly recap of the Denver Church of Christ. My name is Chris Zillman. It's great to have you here with us. And, you know, it's been an interesting week. I went on a road trip, which I'm going to get into here in just a second. But beyond that, President Trump made some comments about church being an essential service. But it's difficult because his comments don't necessarily match up with local governments, kind of convictions and direction, which also doesn't match up with some of the medical direction, which is always full of controversy and debate. And, you know, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a lawyer. I just wish that there was a very simple direction on what we should do. At this point, it's very convoluted. And we're trying to figure out what we should do as a church. Obviously, we have members who are very at risk with their health, that we want to be mindful of them. And then we have members who are, you know, at a type of risk because they've been alone for so long, and the fellowship is a necessary service for them. And trying to balance both of these needs in some minds is very simple. But usually I think oversimplified answers come from a place of personal agenda. And, it's always very simple when you want something. It's very clear to you what you want, and then it becomes so you can sometimes oversimplify other people's issues, perhaps with what you want. In any case, as a church, we're trying to figure out: do we meet together, or do we not, or when do we, or do we have limited services? And these are all questions that we're considering right now, and there are all kinds of needs. And I would just ask that everyone remain patient and pray for us as we try and figure out what to do. These are confusing times, and what is at the heart of the decision is what is best for our membership, spiritually, health-wise, everything. We want to do what's best for everybody in the long run. These are unprecedented times, so I would just ask for you to bear with us. And so all of that is happening while I am planning to take an actual road trip this week, because weeks ago, and I talked about this in a previous episode, we decided to buy a dog. And the type of dog that we wanted to get was one that I grew up with, a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, which is kind of an Eastern Coast dog. There's not a lot of them in this area. And so I had to go to Minnesota to pick up the dog. So rather than fly there and go through the airports and all of that, I really wanted to drive there, and I wanted to take one of my kids with me so we could have this great trip. I wanted to go through the Black Hills of San Diego on the way there, not San Diego, South Dakota on the way there, and then hit the Badlands on the way back, and just have this amazing kind of father-son bonding experience. And so that's what we did today. We left Thursday afternoon and went up through Wyoming and into the Black Hills, and we stayed in a town called Deadwood, South Dakota, within the Black Hills, which was it was gorgeous. We did some fishing along the way, drove all the way across South Dakota and into Minnesota to pick up the dog, and then drove straight home from Minnesota all the way home, and went through the Badlands on the way there. And it's interesting because within this trip we went through this kind of very sublime, temperate, beautiful place in the Black Hills, which is green with creeks, and it's lush, and it just is so, it's like a very mild, pleasant place. You could definitely imagine living there. And then on the way back, really only separated by dozens of miles is then the Badlands, which is this alien, stark place with these crazy rock formations and non-potable water. And it's just, as you're driving through, you almost think you're on a movie set, and it was gorgeous. And then we went through this super violent thunderstorm last night with hail, and I think it produced some tornadoes, and it's all kind of creatively stimulating for me to go through all these different phases of ecology and geology, and to be sitting with my son, and in general, I'm taking a trip to go get a dog that has reminded me of my boyhood, while I'm sitting in the car next to my son, who is constantly reminding me of my age. Not that he's making comments directed towards me, but you just can't help but feel older when you're sitting next to your 16-year-old. And on top of all that, I've got an 18-year-old that's going off to college, and boy, the thoughts that just go through your mind as you see your kids get older, as you realize that you are getting older, and then you take a road trip to think about all that. And it was definitely memorable for me. I love being able to travel that way and taking a long time, and you kind of get lost in your thoughts along the way. I think everybody should take the time to take long road trips every so often, especially through beautiful places. And when we got back late last night, and this morning as I was reading my Bible, I just couldn't help but go to this verse in Ecclesiastes. And this is, first of all, if I'm not a Christian, I would be a brooding human being. I would be a cynical and brooding human being. And Ecclesiastes, for that reason, has always spoken to my spirit. And, the beginning of Ecclesiastes says, meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Then he goes on to explain that through poetic language. And I just want to read parts of this. It says, "What does man gain from all his labor at which he toils under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north, and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. The place the streams come from, there they go and return. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. And I think about that because, I went on a trip, or I went through these beautiful places, but then I end up back where I started again. And it is circular. And boy, when you read stuff like this and, you go away and you come back and nothing's different, really, it's hard not to think that everything is meaningless. No matter what I do, no matter where I go, no matter what I see, everything remains the same. And the verse goes on, it says, the eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which anyone can say, look, this is something new? It was here already, long ago. It was here before our time. There is no remembrance of men of old. Even those who are yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow. Yeah, so this is like a bit of a downer. And yet, if we assume that the writer was Solomon, or at least some sage, one of the things that we have to come to grips with is that this was written under the influence of wisdom. If it's a sage or if it's Solomon, if it's Solomon, he was the wisest man that had ever lived. And he's writing this under the influence of wisdom. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not sinful during this point, or he's not at a sinful point in his life, but even people who are in sinful points in their life who have wisdom can still exercise that wisdom to see truth. And there is truth here. There is wisdom within this. And I guess you kind of have two choices when you read something like this. And the first is fatalistic. It is to look at everything as ultimately meaningless because nothing changes. There's nothing that we can ultimately do to make a huge difference in the scheme of the universe. When you think of how large everything is, and you think of how long everything lasts after we're gone, and the fact that we won't be remembered. And, this year, our whole theme is legacy, and this flies in the face of what we're trying to produce, which is memory. That we do pass down a legacy of faith that is remembered by our children and their children after them and their children after them. And yet this verse flies in the face because it's both true and untrue. All things do seem to end. And so there is wisdom in this, but it's only bad if you choose to look at things from a fatalistic perspective, that because things end, therefore everything is meaningless. And I don't think that's the way that we should look at things. I think the way that we should look at things is that because all things end, we need to let go. We need to stop hanging on so tightly to control. And, this week is, we don't know what to do as a church necessarily, given all the conflicting information that's coming from medicine, that's coming from the president and local governments, and all of this is conflicting, and it's enough to make you want to pull out your hair as you're trying to do what's best for everybody else. And really, the thing is, this is all going to end. There's going to come a time where people don't even remember this year, where it'll be a distant memory. And probably for some of you, there'll be some point in your life where you'll look back and just go, "Oh, right, that did happen. We were in lockdown for months. I totally forgot about that." And so, the drama of this time, it's going to pass. And so, but rather than looking at it as meaningless, I think what we have to strive to do is let go. Stop trying to control everything. Stop trying to make your agenda the primary agenda. Stop trying to drive all the time. Let God move. Let God do his thing. Trust people around you. Trust the Spirit. Trust that God is making the times what they are. Because no matter how hard you hold on, no matter how much you try and control, whatever you produce with it all, it's all going to end. And so let go. Try and enjoy the journey. And that's the thing. Probably with most people in their jobs, when you go on vacation or you take a couple days away, it can be hard to detach from your responsibilities. And even as I'm driving, I'm getting different messages about a variety of different things. Some of them, to people, they seem like crises to other people, and there are some difficult questions that are being asked. And, I got to be able to, on this journey, be able to let go of that stuff and believe that God is in control, that everything's going to be fine, even if I make a mistake, even if I make the wrong decision. It doesn't mean that God is not going to use what's happening for the greater good. I need to enjoy this time sitting next to my son. I need to enjoy what I'm seeing out the window pass by. And that's really how we need to, I think, live life. And so, we all come to these moments where we go, man, no matter what I do, nothing changes. But rather than be fatalistic about it, I think we need to be more faithful about it and just let go and believe that God will do what he needs to do, that God's will be done. We just need to obey. We need to be faithful to him, faithful to the spirit of what he wants in this day and age, and we need to love one another. So anyway, those were some of my thoughts this week. Go on a road trip. Take someone with you and drive far away so it's slightly uncomfortable by how far you have to drive. And take roads you've never gone on before and drive through thunderstorms and all of that. And while you're doing it, learn to let go of all of the worries, all of the responsibilities, all of the concerns, and allow God to be the person who is in control of all of it. Have a great week. Look forward to seeing you soon. I really do hope that we meet soon, even if it's in a limited fashion. I long to see people's faces. I long to speak in front of live people and then interact with them afterwards. Let's pray that God makes it very, very clear what we should be doing. Love you all very much. Have a great week. Praying for all of you, and we'll see you soon.